we've got 5 minutes left in this session. Michael Ruben Rinaldi about to cross the line to go faster than teammate Alvaro Bautista for top spot. No, he isn't, because he loses ground in the final sector, so Bautista remains on top. Here is Lecuona just coming down pit lane, and with a shake of the head as well.
Shake of the head, not looking too happy with that, and it said on the timing screens turn 10 for the crash for him, and you can see again there frustration from Iker, and just saying that the rear just coming around on him there, and just not happy at all. Iker's a very emotive rider, and we saw that after his crash in free practice 1, and again in this situation, not keeping the emotions in check there, but sometimes that's what a rider needs. They need to get that frustration out so that they can then move on from it.
I mean, there's some consistency around the riders who are most emotional. They're the ones that are in those manufacturers a little bit further back down the pecking order, of course.
Just about that for Lecuona as well. We did see that in free practice 1 when he had his crash, he said he was on, or well, we heard from Anthony down in pit lane that it seemed that he was saying that he was online when he had the crash. Turn 1, it happened early in the corner there as well, so we didn't quite see it, but if he was online for that as well, then that's where it is worrying, where when you've shut the gas off and you still have that rear struggling to give you that confidence and coming around on you.
So Lecuona makes his way back into the pits as we head towards the final few minutes of free practice 2. Alvaro Bautista, as well as Gardner and Razgat Lioglu just completing installation laps. Rinaldi and Ray on improved laps. Again, Rinaldi's losing ground in that final sector. That's going to be something worth looking at in the timesheets at the end of this session, because it does look as though Rinaldi regularly is losing ground in sector 4. Ray was up after sector 1. He's lost a little bit of time in sector 2. Further back down the order, Javi Vierque moving up into the top 10 positions and with an opportunity to make further progress on his latest lap. And we'll see what the likes of Razgat Lioglu and Locatelli can do now that Locatelli's making his way out of the pit as well. Michael Ruben Rinaldi bailing on his latest lap, just getting into a little bit of clean air. But as I say, looks as though he's struggling through that final sector. That's been a trend throughout the day.
Well, we saw for Bautista as well, lost a lot of time to Jonathan Ray in that final sector. So for the Ducati, maybe just an area where they've got an improvement to be made, and you can see there for Rinaldi, had to pick the bike up through turn 16.
Yes, a couple of tenths of a second slower through that final sector on his best effort through sector 4 than the fastest man through that sector. So clearly a little bit of work to do, albeit that it was an error there last time around for Rinaldi that cost him that time. Bautista, meanwhile, is up by over a quarter of a second after 3 completed sectors. Razgat Lioglu is up by a tenth of a second. So these final 2 minutes, we could be about to see some improvement here. Will we see a rider going to the 1 minute 32s for the first time in Indonesia this weekend? Will we ever? Razgat Lioglu, 1 minute 32.625. Bautista could yet improve it. He makes his way now towards the line off the final turn. 1 minute 32.625. So it is an improvement. And for Bautista as well, he goes faster than that, 132.499. So Alvaro Bautista P1, Razgat Lioglu P2. They open up the gap to the rest of the pack.
Toprak losing all that time in sector 2 as well, so that's quite interesting for the Yamaha rider. They'll be able to make that direct comparison between themselves and Ducati. Sector 2 is a long run though. It's turn 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the entry into turn 10 as well, so there's a lot going on in that sector.
Michael Ruben Rinaldi then still third fastest. Bautista and Razgat Lioglu will both continue on to try and set a further improvement. Razgat Lioglu is ahead of Bautista geographically on the track. Rinaldi now up and running with what's going to be a last effort for him. It's taken him a couple of laps to get a bit of daylight, but he has now done so. He's fast through sector 1, so those are the 3 men to beat at this stage in the session. Michael van der Aert crossing the line. That's a really strong effort from the Dutchman. 1 minute 33.213, only 7 tenths of a second down on the fastest time. Now, before Bautista and Razgat Lioglu made their improvements, we had something like 12-13 riders all covered by a second. That field is beginning to spread out late on, with Bautista and Razgat Lioglu improving. Bautista's going to make further progress on this lap, and we could be looking at a Ducati 1-2 at the end of the day in Indonesia, because Razgat Lioglu is unable to improve. He'll get one more lap out of this, 132.752, so not far off his fastest time. Bautista is 1.5 tenths of a second up though after 3 completed sectors, and he sets a 1 minute 32.498 as the checkered flag's about to fall.
Rinaldi just coming through that final sector now as well. This is where he had that moment a couple of laps ago, so now we get a true reflection section of where he is.
Rinaldi then about to cross the line with a couple of other Ducatis in front of him, and he goes P1, and it's 300ths of a second faster than Alvaro Bautista for a Ducati 1-2 in FP2. A 132.468 then for Rinaldi, 132.498 for Bautista, and they're 1.5 tenths of a second faster than Toprak Razgatlioglu. Toprak still completing what will be his final lap. He's a tenth of a second down though in sector 1. He's almost 4 tenths of a second down after sector 2, and it doesn't look as though there's going to be any further improvement for Razgatlioglu. Spoke previously about Michael van der Mark getting up into those top 5 positions. He has lost ground in sector 3 of his final lap, so won't improve. Scott Redding, his BMW counterpart, unable to improve from P10. Locatelli and Bassani both up in those top 10 positions at the end of the session as they set new personal bests on their checkered flag lap. Fine effort today from Michael Ruben Rinaldi. He was fastest in FP1 ahead of Razgatlioglu and Bautista. He's fastest in FP2 ahead of Bautista and Razgatlioglu. One last chance for Bautista to make a further improvement. He was a tenth of a second down after sector 3. If he can pick up some ground here in sector 4, he might be able to edge Rinaldi out of P1. Competitive start to the weekend for Michael Ruben Rinaldi, no doubt about that. And Alvaro Bautista sets a 1:32.497, so fractionally faster than he had been before, but not good enough to unseat Michael Ruben Rinaldi from top spot. So Rinaldi ends FP1 fastest, he ends FP2 fastest, and a strong start to the weekend for the number 21 Ducati.
Yeah, and for Michael, he's looked good all the way through. Obviously that crash in free practice 1, a little bit of a blot in the copybook, but he bounced straight back from it, just like Bautista as well with his free practice 2 crash. So both Ducati riders have hit the deck today, but both of them fast, first and second on the combined times. Good to see Toprak with that time attack at the end, able to get himself up there pretty much within a tenth of a second of the fastest time as well, so that bodes well. But Jonathan Rea is 4th fastest. We probably didn't see the full extent of what Rea could do on his time attack lap, but Michael van der Mark up there inside the top 5. We saw him 6th in the time sheets on Friday in Phillip Island. That was a little bit, in the it was overall in Phillip Island on that. And for van der Mark, a good gap between him and the other BMW riders, 0.5 second to Scott Redding. So keep an eye on that over the course of tomorrow's action to see the steps that the other BMW riders can make to close down that margin.